I think I said this on a past episode, but I listened to a book, and it was a nonfiction book, and he fucked up almost every major name in the book that he could fuck up. It was almost like someone bet him whether or not he could just take a big steaming shit into the mouth of every single person who contributed to this thing. Hello and welcome to Talk Spooky to Me, the Ghost Story Guys mail show. I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestall with a new voice.
And this is our opportunity to hear from you, our listeners. Paul Bestall, the natural world is trying its hardest to murder you, and what the bride didn't finish off, the sun is trying to. How are you managing in this new apocalypse?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. It's not that. It's the fact that my tablets are apparently not the best thing to take in hot weather, which I've looked through the mountains of instructions that come with my tablets, and it doesn't mention anything about extreme heat. So yeah, I was delighted to discover today that my chances of having caught a bit of heat stroke over the last few days has probably been raised a great deal by the fact that my tablets stop me from sweating.
That is no good.
No.
I got a little bit of heat stroke last year up in my place here, and it is bad news. And I at least was able to go into the other room where I did have an air conditioner and cool down a bit. You guys over there, all you got is essentially, prayer and essential oils.
Yes, and alcohol.
Which is not known for its cooling effects.
It depends how fast you drink it.
Okay, all right. Well, don't take medical advice from this podcast, but do take advice on how to be cool.
Yeah,
I had one of those. That's how you.
One of those awful moments at the gig on Saturday. My choices of alcohol beverages were several awful lagers, most of which were Budweiser, or several awful beers, which were mostly John Smith's, or drinking cider. So I ended up having to drink cider, which is not something I do very often.
I'm very sorry for your loss. Man, you had to drink cider and watch The Bride. The world is arrayed against you at this moment.
Well, as I've just said to you off air, my friend, I did not think I'd see a film worse than Thrash this year. Have I seen a film worse than Thrash this year? I've seen a film that's driven straight through Thrash, dug it up, and buried it 500 feet underground. The Bride is one of the worst films I've ever seen in any genre at any point of my entire life. It is dreadful from top to bottom, start to finish. It is awful. And I really wanted to love it.
It is a difficult movie to love. I saw it in theaters. I actually saw it, I think I caught a Thursday night preview, and there were 5 other people in the theater. And maybe about 20 minutes into the film, I understood why. I think I've said this before on the show. It is the most theater kid energy thing I've ever seen. And I liked it more than you did, but I recognize it has major problems. And if you're not aware, basically, folks, it's a retelling of the Bride of Frankenstein story in a sort of faux 1930s setting, I guess, or 1920s setting.
Who knows?
It's a very odd movie. I suspect that whatever narrative was salvaged was done so in the editing room. It had a famously, maybe not famously, but had a kind of a troubled production from what I understand. It's one of a kind. We'll say that.
The only people who are happy to know that The Bride exists is everybody who was involved in the release of Cats.
I don't know, man. I still blame Cats for me getting COVID, so The Bride is above that.
Yeah, James Corden has that effect.
Ugh, yeah, I didn't walk out of The Bride with a strange fever that would metastasize into a nightmare. So that's something. It's on streaming now, so you guys can watch it for free.
Unsurprisingly.
I know, right? It has its fans again. I quite liked it,
we should
even though I recognize
Brennan.
I'm one of them. I'm among their number, man.
These people should not be allowed to have children.
Well, that's why I had the vasectomy. I knew the bride was coming, and so I knew my dubious tastes should not be passed down. Speaking of dubious taste, actually, I also used to be a massive Jessie Buckley fan, and I am. She's an enormously talented actress. However, she said during, I think it was the press cycle for this movie, that she hates cats. And that when she got together with her husband, I think, she told him, it's either the cats or me.
Bye.
And I got to tell you, that's exactly what my response would be too. Bye. So an enormously talented actress marred by the fact that she is apparently one of history's great monsters.
Well, it's only a matter of time before she gets together with Chalamet then, and they could be dickheads together.
No, there's a power couple. Well, in much less interesting news, I had this one bizarre thing happen, and I think I might be the next Starfighter. So if I don't turn up to the next recording session, I'm probably in another galaxy fighting demons, or I've been kidnapped and I'm somewhere beneath the desert. As you know, and I've mentioned before, I've been doing all these surveys to make a little bit extra cash here and there, you know. And it sounds goofy, but I've managed to kind of network my way through these sites. And so I haven't had to pay for it to go see a movie in about 2 months. And as you know, I see a lot of movies. But I got approved for this new site. They pay a little better, but it's very competitive. You have to, you know, when something comes up, you got to jump on it right away. One of them was like reviewing a job applicant, like a fictional prospective job applicant, and like evaluating their qualifications. I hope to Christ it's fictional and that I wasn't part of some double-blind study that sent a guy back to the unemployment line. But anyways, I got this one, and it was from some university somewhere. I didn't catch the name. This one said, we are going to show you a series of shapes, and there will be an exercise based on this series of shapes. And depending on your score with the shapes, you will be subject to a public speaking exercise where you will have a microphone on and you will read a teleprompter in front of you on your screen, while to the right, comments, I assume AI generated comments, rush in, kind of talking shit about your performance. So I assume it's meant to be like, because public speaking freaks out a lot of people. So I guess the idea is that the simulated environment where you're public speaking is meant to be punishment of some kind. It was very odd. I get to the exercise itself, and what it is, it's like a mapping thing using flashcards. So you here's a triangle, here's a square. When you go left at the triangle, you see a quill. Then you go left or right. When you go left at the quill, there's a this. If you go right at the quill, there's a that. And they drill you on it until you can tell them what the map is. And it's 3 layers deep on each side. So then they start assigning values to each card. So they'll tell you, we want you to get to 20 points. How would you do that? And so you have to think, okay, so this card was worth this much. And if you go left, this card, it was a whole fucking thing. They start switching things up. They switch up the values. It was only a couple of minutes. It sounds a lot more involved than it was, but it was a very strange study. It was all symbols, like the amphoras and quills and all this shit. And then at the end, they said your score was high enough you don't have to do the public speaking exercise. Thank you. Goodbye. So, like, again, if I'm kidnapped by Zorlax to go fight in the Galactic War, you know what happened, or at least how it started.
Do you perhaps wonder that you might have been translating the Egyptian Book of the Dead and you've actually resuscitated Ramesses?
I can't say for sure that's not what happened. So, I mean, I think we have to say maybe.
Lots of hieroglyphs going on there.
Oh, that's a great point. I hadn't considered that. Well, I go search for Anak Sunamun. We're going to answer some listener mail.
Our courteous and efficient staff is on call 24 hours a day to serve all your supernatural elimination needs.
We're ready to believe you.
All right, so first up, we have a message on Patreon from Ian. I wanted to pose this question right up at the front because I thought it might be a long one, or long answer. But Ian says, I'm from the US, so maybe I don't understand what is so controversial about the idea of big cats in the UK. I mean, they're everywhere and they're very quiet. The UK has a lot more green space than some of our cities here, and if we can get bobcats in suburban LA or coyotes in New York Central Park, why not a puma on a country estate? The mind boggles. And Paul, this is very much a you question. What do you think?
Because people are absolutely terrified of anything larger than a badger in this country. It's a lot of misinformation. It's a lot of fear-mongering by media sources and just a general complete overreaction to it. So, I think it's 1,000 years since we eradicated bears. It's about 600 years since we eradicated wolves in the United Kingdom. So we've had nothing here. And people are trying to bring rewilding in as a conversation, and people are absolutely terrified of it. Oh my God, if we rewild the Scottish Highlands with wolves, they'll be invading Glasgow within a week. It's that kind of crap.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm starting to understand how you guys voted for Brexit.
Excuse me, I didn't.
But no, as a general people. I'm aware you didn't because you can read.
Yes, as I like to bore people about knowing about the Dublin Agreement of 2013, yes, I did read, and I do read.
I don't know what my in-laws' excuse is, but that's another conversation.
Well, anyway. So it's fear-mongering, and the fact that we're a nation of animal lovers as long as they're the animals we can choose. I mean, people got really freaked out about us bringing beavers back. And I mean, fucking hell, what are they going to do? You're not going to get gnawed on by a beaver, are you? Unless there's too many people in this country who've seen zombievers.
Somehow I doubt that's going to be an issue.
Beaver fever. Who knows what's causing that? But people were, there have been people that will kill them.
I just want to say, I grew up in a place where beaver fever was a real concern. My culture is not your costume.
So yes, it's paranoia, ignorance, and fear-mongering. There you are.
Okay, there we go. Ian, that you have your answer. This one is from Eileen on Patreon. This is pretty funny. The Nazis in South America conversation reminds me of 18 years ago when my partner and I traveled around in Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador. We needed a doctor and happened to bump into one in his 50s or 60s who spoke perfect German. Huh. I bet he was resistant to questions about his family lineage.
We've all seen Marathon Man.
The boys from Brazil.
Yeah, it's all that.
Just dropping casual V-gates, but never willkommen Sie aus. Weird.
There was one the other day, I was reading, strangely enough, there was a story about this in the press the other day. There was a looted Nazi picture that's been recovered recently in South America that had been hanging in a house somewhere for 60 years, and they found out where it was, and when they turned up, they didn't know where it had gone, and now it's reappeared. So it's turned up on the black market, it's turned up on the auction market, I think, and they've eventually traced it back to a house in Argentina that was looted, part of the Jewish resettlement, when they basically just took everything they owned, and it was all linked to that. So that's, this is 81 years, and they're still turning stuff up.
Well, I mean, we were talking on the live stream a couple of months back, or maybe 6-8 months ago, about that painting they found on the set of Stuart Little.
Yes.
That was itself part of the stolen Nazi art, part of the stolen Nazi art cache. Like, what?
You never know when things will turn up. It's like the whole Hammer Dracula thing. That's a strange story in itself.
Oh, yeah, you just sent me that. You said they in a Warner Brothers archive, they dug up the uncut version of the Christopher Lee Dracula.
Yeah, it's never been shown anywhere but Japan.
Japan.
It's never been released on video, DVD, in any territory, the original version. So it'll be the first time the vast majority of people will have ever seen the uncut version since it was censored in 1958.
That's fucking cool. I cannot wait for that. Was it October, they said?
Yes, it's going to be Halloween, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, crazy. Just found it. I like the bit in the thing where he said, oh, yeah, this lot's got all sorts. There's 10 Batmobiles in there. And I was like, what? What do you mean there's 10 Batmobiles in Warner Brothers' special secret lot?
Well, when I went to go see that Elvis film earlier this year, the epic Elvis Presley in concert, and it's fine. But one of the cool things about it is it's made up of footage that was found in one of these old storage facilities. When Baz Luhrmann was making the Elvis film a couple of years ago, he went to some Warner archive, I want to say in Kansas, and underground, and dug up all this previously unseen Elvis footage. So the film is made up of footage that was taken at that time and has not been seen since. And some of it actually had no sound to it. So there's footage of Elvis kind of just Elvising, but there's no sound. So it's interspersed through the film in such a way that you don't know it has no sound, because he's talking over top and it's just audio taken from interviews with him. But you're seeing footage that has been for 50 years hidden underground. It's pretty cool. I'm a nerd for lost films and shit like that. So when you sent me that thing today, I was stoked, because I am just high on that shit. I actually watched Vinegar Syndrome has this series called Reviver, where they put out on one disc a bunch of, they've done 2 volumes so far, and it's just stuff that isn't enough for a full release on its own, but is recovered from garage sales and estate sales and shit like that. So I've only seen volume 1 so far. I haven't watched 2 yet, but there was a slasher film. I think Boots and the Preacher, I think it was called. It's essentially, I guess, kind of like more of a murder mystery film than a slasher film, but it was shot in South Carolina in the 70s features this very popular at the time regional singer whose popularity never broke out of that region. And it is just, yeah, it's a full-length film that played a couple times in the 70s and then was purchased by someone at a garage sale. It just managed to survive all these years fairly intact. And I am just a giant dork for all this stuff. So I'm so stoked to see Dracula 1958 in its entirety.
Yeah, they just need to release us nerds into these warehouses. We'll find all kinds of lost shit.
Oh, God. Yeah, that or we'd never get out.
London After Midnight is in one of these warehouses, I'm telling you.
Oh, from your lips to God's ears, man.
I'm telling you. The full uncut version of The Keep. It's next to that.
And the full uncut version of, what's it called? Event Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, just before we move on to the first proper email, speaking of previously unseen stuff, as you know, I've talked many times that I'm a subscriber to Vinegar Syndrome. So every month you get a couple movies from them. And the one that's coming mid-June is called Human Lanterns. It's a Chinese film.
Oh, yes.
Oh, you're familiar with it? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
So it was recently released by someone else. So a lot of people were like, okay, well, who cares? Someone else already released this. But what Vinegar Syndrome has just released a statement saying this release will be the first one and the only one to contain additional footage, which they were able to locate in their archival search. So it's got a completely different ending and additional footage, apparently, which is quite gruesome, in a film that is already quite gruesome.
Yes. Yeah, there is a very bad version of it on streaming here in the UK.
Oh, okay. Well,
which is about an hour long.
Oh, Christ. So this new one is an hour and 40 minutes.
Brilliant.
Wow.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those lost Asian horror films that's deserved a complete rebuild. So I'm delighted to hear that. I'll keep an eye out for that. Because it's not... You can tell there's something gone on with it. I didn't know it had been cut to that extreme.
Again, we're movie nerds in addition to paranormal nerds, and I find these things tend to run in parallel.
Yes.
So
it's weird, that, isn't it?
Be on board. It is, right?
Talking of paranormal nerds, let's take a message from our friend in Germany, Tord, who says...
Yes, Tord, who, of course, supplied us with the 3 poltergeist cases from last week.
Indeed, fabulous. He says, "Hello, Brennan and Paul. I was very proud and happy that the 3 old poltergeist cases found a place in your podcast show. I really enjoyed the episode. I think Paul Bestall is right that there is something genuinely real behind at least some poltergeist cases. What it is exactly, nobody can really say. Personally, I do not think infrasound explains everything. I will ignore the word and move on. I have experienced some poltergeist-like incidents myself, although in a much milder form. No stone throwing or violent activity, but things like pictures suddenly falling from walls or books being thrown out of a shelf and landing in the middle of the room or a library floor. I also agree that the doppelganger aspect in the 3rd case was especially unusual. The rest felt more typical for classic poltergeist reports. I know of several doppelganger stories from Germany. The most famous is probably the account by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who describes riding on horseback during bad weather when he suddenly saw a man riding towards him wearing exactly the same riding coat he himself was wearing, and even a similar horse. Goethe later wrote that he felt as if he had encountered his own double riding past him in the opposite direction. Whilst listening to the episode, I suddenly had the thought of whatever poltergeists are, they often seem to display what they can do almost theatrically, as if saying, "Look what I can do." They materialise things, move objects, create fear, and yet often do not directly injure people. It almost feels like a strange form of supernatural exhibitionism, as if the phenomena wants attention or an audience. In a way, it sometimes feels almost game-like, and the question becomes whether people engage with it or refuse to give it attention. A little bit like a goblin. Thank you again for the fantastic episodes of Ghost Story Guys. It is honestly one of my absolute favourite podcasts. You are both doing wonderful work. Best wishes, Tord. Oh, thank you, Tord.
Yes, thank you very much. It's very kind. And yeah, I do find poltergeists, I find all this shit fascinating, but poltergeists especially because it's so definite. Things are moved.
Yes.
People are affected. It's not just I heard a noise or I saw something out of the corner of my eye, but shit is moving.
Yeah. I had an interesting sort of poltergeist adjacent conversation with my guest this week, Ashley Nibb, on Mysteries and Monsters, where he's investigated a haunting that has a haunting and poltergeist aspects to it, but it's been going on for years.
Interesting.
So what's all that about?
Let's see if our next writer has any suggestions. Next up, we have the Spotify Roundup. I really need to have a sting for that.
Anybody from the UK will know what I've done there.
Okay, that makes one of us. It sounded like a Dalek having an orgasm. All right, so first up in the Spotify Roundup is from Natasha Willoff McCartney on our Travolta's Ghost Talk Spooky episode. Natasha says, "This is so weird. I never knew about the Frank Lloyd Wright murders, and I'm about to go to a cabin that is about 15 minutes away. I literally just booked it and was planning on doing a tour of the Taliesin. I hadn't realized I hadn't listened to this episode, and then that came up."
Doing our best for tourist destinations around the world.
That's it. Also, maybe smudge yourself afterwards, Natasha, just in case.
And smudge yourself before you get in.
Yeah, before you go and then after.
Just to be sure.
But Natasha, let us know how that goes. Very curious to know what your experience is like.
Next, Shanda says, "I was trying not to cry at work over Molly Moo. I had to let my 12-year-old dog go recently as well. She got sick suddenly and passed whilst I was at work on the 12th of May. It's been quiet since her passing, but I feel like she's running around and rolling in the grass over the Rainbow Bridge." Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Shanda.
Me too, but I think you're 100% right. I think she's over there having a great old time, and she's just fine. All right, so next up, this is from Misha, and Misha, who had submitted a story for our Haunted South Africa episode. Misha says, "Thanks for reading my story. So I don't do blackout curtains only because I get night terrors. I don't see the Hat Man, but I do see a shadow man. So like a Hat Man without a hat. The sleep mask helps me to not see him. The built-in earphones also help because I can then focus on listening to whatever instead of city noises and any creepy shit that might come my way. I tend to listen to you guys, Southern Gothic, and real-life ghost stories to drift off. Also, I've lived and visited all over South Africa, including some of the oldest buildings in our country. The most ghost-riddled parts of the country, according to me, are Kimberley and the Free State, which is a mostly rural province in the middle of the country next to Lesotho. Both of these places have very traumatic histories of the Anglo-Boer War. Most of Black Week, which I expect Paul knows about, happened around Kimberley. Then the scorched earth policies in the Makane and the Free State in the 1800s just left scars on the landscape. And on top of that, if you believe in stone tape theory, Kimberley is surrounded by ferrous stone mountains, and at least where I grew up in the Free State, sandstone. But yeah, Kimberley alone would probably take up a full episode. And the funny thing is, after moving away from the brothers in my story, I moved to Bloemfontein, the capital of the Free State, and all 3 places in a row where I lived were haunted. So, Misha, I do not envy you this, but thank you for the story. And I would love to do a deeper dive into South Africa. It's I don't know, we might have to do a slightly altered format because I have to imagine there's probably not a lot of first-hand stories. But in terms of lore, I imagine we could put something together.
Yeah, very much so. Well, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Kimberley's not haunted after what happened at Black Week. Yeah.
Is it too bleak to even get a flyover view?
No, well, not really. It was just that, surprisingly, the British military arrogance believed that they could easily deal with the Boers and weren't really taking them seriously. And then we got our arses handed to us in 3 skirmishes in a week, which is why it's called Black Week. And they lost nearly 3,000 troops. And we just went, right, all right then. And then we just recruited 60,000 soldiers and just went, right, let's finish this. And just kept charging in. We went, right, Commonwealth. So there's loads of Canadians and Australians and people from New Zealand. We just pulled everybody in and redeployed some British troops and sent a massive army in to finish it off. And invented concentration camps. But we'll move on.
Okay.
Thank you, Winston Churchill. That was his idea, by the way.
Okay, well, on that note, we all need a minute to deal with our collective colonial pasts and to put some space between that conversation and the emails that follow. So we're going to take a quick break for some ads.
Next up, Historical Meat 2916 on Reddit says, "Hi, Brennan and Paul. I have this movie I think you guys should watch. It's on my list as well, but it was filmed in a supposedly haunted inn, which has now been shut since 2011, in Torrington, Connecticut. It's called The Innkeepers. It's a horror movie based off the legends of that inn, which is the Yankee Peddler Inn. Now, the name rings a bell, but I don't think I've seen it.
It is good. It's directed by Ty West.
Ty West, obviously the man responsible for Mia Goth.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, more or less. Certainly the man responsible for X, Maxine, and Pearl. Or, well, not in that order, of course, but a pretty stellar trilogy of films.
Absolutely.
We're really lucky, I think, that West is back at work. I think I've said this, might have been on a live stream I said this, but he stopped making features for a long time after a truly terrible experience on a Western film. I think it's called In a Valley of Violence. Can't remember the specifics. I heard him talk about it on a podcast a long time ago, but he went and did a bunch of TV after that because he was so broken from the experience of making this movie with all these giant fevered egos that he was done. And I think they ended up shooting, I think X and Pearl were shot back to back in New Zealand when they had no COVID during the pandemic. And then Maxine was shot in Los Angeles once the first two films were successful after everything had kind of opened back up again. But yeah, really great shit. I'm a big Ty West fan. As far as I know, he's not a son of a bitch. So, my opinion could change if that changes. But as far as his work, I think he's a great filmmaker.
Very much so. Yeah, he's certainly got an eye for it.
So thank you, Historical Meat. Next up is from Lori C. Paul, I listened to your latest Eminem episode and heard your pronunciation lesson. And I listened to the latest GSG episode where Bren digs deep into the listener story mailbag way back machine. I wish I could bust his chops about it, but my email inbox looks like the digital version of a Hoarders episode. Thank you, Lori. Lori goes on to say, sorry, mate, you are still cooking up saying Maugian. It's Maugian spoken smoothly without any sense of cadence. So Maugian.
Maugian.
But please don't feel bad. It doesn't sound at all like it's spelled. Like in tortilla, the double L sounds like E or ye.
Tortilla. Maugian.
I am currently listening to an audiobook set in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I grew up, and some of the narrator's pronunciations are making my right eye twitch. So maybe I'm just being an overly sensitive bitch. Anyhow, I love the Ghost Street guys. You gents are the best. And I gleefully got my sister hooked on the podcast last summer. So hopefully all is forgiven. Lori, there's... Oh, no. Okay. I was going to say there's nothing to forgive. Paul may feel differently.
No, that's fine. No, I appreciate it. I take great comfort in people correcting, because that's the only way you know.
I think I said this on a past episode, but I listened to a book and it was narrated by the author, and it was a nonfiction book, and he fucked up almost every major name in the book that he could fuck up. It was almost like someone bet him whether or not he could just take a big steaming shit into the mouth of every single person who'd contributed to this thing, because there was just not one of them had their names right. One guy's last name was Eusebio, calls him Muzabo. I feel like you have to try to get it that wrong.
Offending all Portuguese football fans without actually realising it at the same time. So thank you, Laurie. Next up, Hannah writes, hi, Brennan and Paul. I was wondering about what Caroline thought the EP said from her ghost hunting adventure in Chicago. I started listening to your show back in October 2024, so I have listened to the whole back catalogue of GSG. Now I am currently slowly working through the back catalogue of Mysteries and Monsters. I recently listened to the Paranormal Minnesota episode of M&M and was wondering if y'all might do a Minnesota episode on GSG. Anyway, here's a possible story for the Minnesota episode. We're currently renting a house in southeastern Minnesota. My husband sometimes likes to leave the lights on the TV before leaving work on the late shift. One day he left it paused on one of his shows. I'd put the remote on the shelf. Our dog was lying on the couch and I was on the floor about to change my 9-month-old daughter's diaper. All of a sudden, the show started playing. Our dog hadn't stepped on the remote, so I have no idea how it started playing. I might have a solution here.
Oh, interesting. Do tell.
I'm not sure. This is something that seems to have recently started. I know here, my streaming service, if it's something that's not live, I can pause it indefinitely. But if it's a live show, the longest the pause will stay on is 30 minutes.
Oh, that makes sense because it's caching.
Yeah, and then it'll just
so you
kick
can
off.
catch up on it.
Yeah, and then you can't go back past that point, you've paused it. It's really frustrating. May not be the same thing in the States. It's just a possible thing. I hope it isn't. I hope it is paranormal. I hope the ghost's gone, hang on a minute, I really enjoy this show. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. Oh, and Hannah, your question, Carolyn, about what she thought the EVP said. I looked it up, and her message, she said, what we think the third EVP said, all of us listened to it without anyone saying what they thought it said. Then we all said what we thought we heard, and we all heard, "Who's that crying?" unanimously. Mm-hmm. So Paul was close with "Who's that laughing?" The weird part, which we didn't put together until later, was that earlier in the evening, one of us was crying for reasons not related to the investigation. So, there you go.
I do find EVPs fascinating, I have to say.
Oh, me too. I really, really do. And actually, quickly, because I know we're tight on time today because we got to go do the live show, but I mentioned to Carol that you had done the Estes method when we were at Parameet. Do you remember much about what was said during that session?
One of the main, I mean, it was really odd. So it was just loads of noise and things. But the two biggest things I remember was a man constantly saying, "Stop it," and "Get away. Stop it and get away," constantly. So that didn't make sense, because even if you think it's interference, I did it for 45 minutes, not 5-10 minutes. This was constantly going on for the full 45 minutes of a man saying, "Stop that, stop that." And obviously I didn't realise at the time they were examining this mirror, because obviously I couldn't see them or hear them. And every time they went near the mirror, I kept saying, "Stop it, give up, stop it, give up." Damn.
Okay. There you go, Carolyn. Ask and you shall receive. I couldn't remember if we'd actually talked about the results of the investigation on the show itself, or if it was a bonus thing.
I think we did at the time, yeah. But they were the two things. I mean, there was lots of stuff coming through, and they took lots of, obviously somebody else was transcribing as well whilst I was speaking. And like I said, the weirdest thing about it was I thought I'd done it for 5 minutes and it was 45. That was the strangest aspect of it. Yeah,
I remember you were super jazzed. Like coming out of there, it was you found it like a really crazy experience.
Yeah, it was good.
Next up, we have some experiences from the Discord, and of course, if you want to get access to our exclusive patron-only Discord,
what's that?
You can click the. Yeah, you get access to the Discord, not Paul in the Discord. I didn't say anything about that. Click the link in the show notes, or become a patron at patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. $1 a month gets you access to the Discord, and it's a hoot where I'm really, really enjoying it. It's a great time. Paul is he's in there too. He's just, his girlfriend lives in Canada. You don't know her.
Yeah, I'm too busy on TikTok. That's what it is.
I knew it all this time. I've been saying
doing shuffling.
Very impressed.
Thank you.
Your twerking has really improved, by the way.
Certainly has. Somebody complimented my dancing on Saturday. Very nice.
I'm sure they did. All right, so this first up comes from Paul J. Kearns. Of course, Paul is an author. You can check out his work online. Paul says, "When we first moved into our house, my wife and I kept hearing each other's voices calling out our names. When we would answer, we'd find that neither of us had actually called. We ended up cleaning the house, and it stopped. Tonight, I heard my daughter call my name as I got to the top of the stairs. I went into her room to see why she had called, and she said she hadn't. My wife didn't hear it, and she's only in the next room. Time for a good cleanse again, I think." And Paul, you are not kidding. Holy shit. Maybe the cleansing, it takes a while to build up again, whatever it is, to be strong enough to do its whole song and dance routine.
Well, there's always that thing as well that it's not a permanent solution, regardless of what numerous people on TikTok would like to say. It's something you should always do regularly, regardless. I think, and this is no disrespect to Paul, I think sometimes the media can portray that a cleansing will sort it, and sometimes it'll just chill it out for a bit. And that's the thing, you've just got to do it regularly.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I even here, this is a pretty mellow place, but I still have to smudge it every now and again because it's just like, it's almost like clearing out the gunk, even if it's not out exterior intelligence, because I'm not even trying to get rid of the spirit that's here. I'm just trying to get rid of the, just the accumulated gunk that gathers in a living space, especially, with someone who's as fucking neurotic as I am.
Yes. Well, we're doing a nationwide cleansing over the last few days, because all you can smell in the United Kingdom at the moment is barbecue.
Well, you know what? There's got to be some kind of advantage to having endless summer that is cooking you alive.
Well, yeah, I remember the last time when half the country caught fire. It's brilliant. Can't wait for that. Especially during a football tournament.
Oh, no. Good times.
Bring it on. Next up is from Morelia, who says, I work for a brewery in the north of England. The original brewery building was 3 pubs, and the other buildings merged together at the front, and the warehouse and brewery behind it. I won't say it is, but it still does have some Shire horses, which were previously used as the dray to deliver kegs to pubs. Shires are considered to be an endangered species now, and beautiful that they are. They're incredible. They're like horses you'd expect to see in Game of Thrones. They're incredible. And the company has a link to a metal band. I think I know what might that be. Anyhow, I decided to make a phone call on my lunch break, so I went into the original reception area not far from the office I worked in. This office was definitely one of the pubs mentioned above. I rang and waited for someone to pick up whilst looking out of the window. As I was stood there, watching people go past on the street outside, I suddenly had a hello in my right ear. It was nothing to do with the phone that I was still calling to try and get through. I turned around and no one was there. The room was empty. I suddenly decided that the phone call I needed to make maybe wasn't that so urgent after all, and I went back to the office. My colleague, Kathy, took one look at me and said, I'd looked really pale, and said, you look like you've seen a ghost. Thinking about it later, I realised that the voice was that of an old man, perhaps a long-term smoker, so possibly with what we'd call COPD these days. I've not seen anything since, but discovered 2 colleagues also saw flickering lights, and one saw a shadow figure. But due to the age of the buildings, I'm not really surprised. They're approximately 200 years old. Another weird story involves a place in Newcastle upon Tyne, where I believe it was the nightclub in Get Carter, the Michael Caine version, the only version, let's be fair. This place had been a club of various types from the 1930s till 1999. From the early 70s, it was a rock club known as the Mayfair, legendary venue. Nirvana and Led Zeppelin and a lot of other various bands played there, and later on it became one of the 3 rock metal clubs in England. Sadly, it was demolished in 1999. It was a club with a mezzanine floor going all the way around the edge of the room. This would be vital for the story. So I was living with my ex-boyfriend and we were on a night out with friends to the Mayfair. We sat downstairs near the dance floor. Part of the way through the night, I saw my ex with 3 other blokes, all who were with us. They were stood near the table and they were talking, and I can't remember what it was about, but I walked over and joined in the conversation. What was odd was that none of them saw me, made eye contact with me, and when I spoke up, they all crossed over and spoke over me. 5 minutes of this I stormed off the toilets, peeved with the ex, but the rest of them as well. How dare they ignore me? I was a bit drunk at the time. Yes, the Mayfair, sadly gone now, but yes, that was one of the totems of the British metal scene. It was one of those venues that was held in the quality and legendary status of the bands that went through the doors there is just off the charts.
Oh, very cool. Well, I'm very familiar with Get Carter. That is one of my favorite films. It has been since I was a teenager.
You're a big man, but you're out of shape.
With me, it's a full-time job. Oh, yeah. Your eyes are like 2 piss holes in the snow.
Plenty of great, friendly British greetings in that film.
That is I remember being surprised when I watched it for the first time, how bleak a film that was. Like, that is... folks, if you haven't seen it, Michael Caine and Get Carter. I can't remember who directed it. It's right in the tip of my tongue, but it's from 1971, I think, and has one of the best scores of that era. It's just this fabulously iconic score, and it is this just snapshot of life in... Was it shot in Newcastle? It must have been.
All up in Northumberland, yeah.
Right. So yeah, all in Northern England. It is just grim. It is a grim, grim movie with an incredible performance by Michael Caine as just the biggest son of a bitch you could possibly imagine. It is a great gangster film. There was a remake. We're not even going to entertain its existence because it's trash. But the 1971 film, I actually used to have that poster. I think it got damaged, but I used to have an original 1971 Get Carter poster. I love that fucking movie.
Yes. It's Mike Hodges, isn't it?
Mike Hodges, that's it, yes.
How can you forget the director of Flash Gordon? That's a resume.
No kidding.
And Omen 2.
Okay, well, it can't all be bangers.
It could have been worse. Could have been The Exorcist 2.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, or Poltergeist 3.
Or The Bride.
Or The Bride. Now we're all sad. All right, so we have one more message for this episode. This one's not spooky at all, but it is fun. It is also from the Discord, and it is from our patron Lex. So we, on a previous Talk Spooky, we asked if anyone had their celebrities had celebrity stories they wanted to share. And of course, we had someone share their story about waiting on Gerard Butler in his hometown. We've had a few others. And there is actually one, Paul, that I have for after this that you haven't seen because the email just came in. So it's going to be a surprise to Paul as well as you guys. But this...
It's not about me, is it?
Well, now you ruined the surprise. No. It is about as far away a person from you as you could possibly get. It's very different, but we'll get there.
It's the head of the KKK.
Well, again, you'll find out. You're not a million miles off.
David Duke.
Again, close. Definitely a member of the Al Qaeda.
Marvelous.
But Lex says, just listen to the newest Talk Spooky regarding celebrity stories and Green Day. I was the Friday/Saturday night bar floor manager for a spot in San Francisco's Jazz District for a period of time years ago. The guys from Green Day came in every once in a while, and I'm happy to report we're always nice to other customers and respectful of my team. The only time there was ever an incident, I'd had to run to the office for something. Naturally, I kept one eye on the cameras the whole time I was away from the floor. And lo, my very goth bartender, who had announced that she hates their music the first time they came in, and I'd had to have a conversation with her about not treating them any differently because of her musical tastes, she was sat atop the bar, aggressively making out with one of them. As soon as I reappeared on the floor, they flew apart like magnetic repulsion in action. After I checked in with her to make sure it was entirely consensual, which it was, I asked her what the hell happened. She just shrugged and said, I figure it'll be a good story later. They kept coming in. Nobody ever acknowledged it again. You know what? I too would make out with one of the guys from Green Day for the story. Fuck it. Why not?
Shits and giggles.
That's it. For shits and giggles. Lex, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. And this last one comes from Rebecca. This is another celebrity story. I don't have any fun celebrity stories other than some cringe stuff happening at concerts, but my in-laws do have a good one. They pulled into a spot next to a big truck at Tractor Supply Co., and my mother-in-law said out loud, "Big truck, tiny dick." Well, the owner was getting in at the time, and she had no idea. It turns out it was Kid Rock. He has a house near where they live, and I'd say that was an eventful trip to the Tractor Supply Co. for him. Her husband saw his face when she said it and wasn't sure if he should be more horrified or find it hilarious, but I sure thought it was funny.
The only man RFK Jr. could beat in a fight.
Rebecca, that's amazing. Thank you. I guess it's past now, but there's absolutely nothing your father-in-law could have said to Kid Rock that would have been out of bounds. Fuck that guy.
I'm even a better rapper than him. And I can't rap.
No, that's true. Well, again, you've got that in common. And I say this as someone who used to listen. I used to have a couple of his albums, so I'm not like, oh man, I've never listened to that shit. I get the old white guy religion. If I hear bow it to bow, I can't help it. It's in my bones. I'm a garbage person. It just rises in me. But still, fuck that guy.
Best thing to do if you feel like that, mate, is put the Bloodhound Gang album on, and that'll clear you out.
I dated a woman who loved the Bloodhound Gang, so I can never listen to that shit ever again. If I hear the lap dance is better when the stripper's crying one more time, I will simply fill my pockets with rocks and walk into the sea. Just what's going to happen.
Like the rather heartbreaking climax of the Red Guardian's first appearance in Iron Man, where after Iron Man beats him, he decides to walk home to Russia, and we know he won't make it.
There you go.
Great when you're 8. That.
I don't know. That's pretty badass. If only Kid Rock had done the same. As soon as he unleashed,
Iron Man.
as soon as Well, yeah, I mean, it would have ended the same way. I was just thinking, as soon as he unleashed Uncle Cracker on the world, he just has a moment of clarity and goes, "Oh, what have I done?" And as Uncle Cracker's Aces and Eights plays in the background, he just slowly slinks into the Pacific Ocean, bound for parts unknown. I owned that album too. Not proud of it. Uncle Cracker, double wide. Was a very different person back then. Actually, that's not true. I still have pretty garbage taste in a lot of ways, but anyways. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you to everyone who wrote in to this episode of Talk Spooky. Please keep doing that. We love getting your comments, your questions, your emails. You can reach us at ghoststoryguys@gmail.com. We have a form on our website at ghoststoryguys.com. You can find us. You can comment on YouTube. You can comment on Spotify. We're on Reddit as r/ghoststoryguys podcast. We're on Instagram as The Ghost Story Guys, and we're even on the TikTok as either Ghost Story Guys or The Ghost Story Guys. I can't remember which, but we are on there. And we will do our best to get as many questions and comments and stories into each Talk Spooky as we can. And again, we read everything you sent. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you want to get ad-free early release, click the link in the show notes or head to patreon.com/ghoststoryguys. Paul, my friend, where can everyone find you online?
You can find Mysteries and Monsters across most social media networks and all podcast sites.
Fabulous. I'm Largely the Truth on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. You can find my horror fiction show, Fear Daily, everywhere fine podcasts live. And you can hear me reading audiobooks over on Audible. And you can find my personal site at largelythetruth.com. And of course, it would hardly be an episode of Talk Spooky without a song. This time around, we're proud to welcome back our good friend Peter Kursov, better known as Byzanta Music. Peter, of course, the composer of our theme song and the theme song for my old podcast, Largely the Truth, as well as numerous albums of lo-fi beats and many, many other things. Peter's been taking it easy these days. He's got a couple kids, not as much time for music, but the urge struck him again recently, and he has released this latest track. It is called Motown. So Peter, welcome back. You've always got a place here, my friend. If you like what you hear, don't forget to search for Byzanta Music wherever you get your tunes. Paul and I will be back next week with episode 242, but until then, we will leave you with Byzanta Music and Motown.
Beat making, and it's, I love beats. Beat making is just making a beat. It could just be the loop, it could just be the bass idea, but producing... Are you a producer if you're a beat maker? No. I don't think so.